What is accounting? In simplest terms, it's a language. I consider it the language of business. Now, with any language, you have to communicate. So, let me ask you, how do you communicate with your friends? Most likely, you get in touch with them through texting. Now, the same way that you communicate with your friends, businesses have to communicate with their users. As you see here. So, who are these users and why are they so interested in business communication? So here are some types of users that you're going to have to get used to in this class. So shareholders, that's one of the biggest ones. Now what's a shareholder? Well, a shareholder is a person that has bought a piece of ownership of that company. Imagine a pie. They just took a piece of that pie. The pie is the business. They took a tiny piece there and now they are part owners of that business. That's a shareholder. Who else? Creditors. So imagine the company did not pay off its debts. The creditors are interested in that. They want to make sure they get the money that is owed. That's a creditor. Now investors, it's pretty obvious what that is. They invest money in the company and hope to get a return on their investment. Then you have customers. Customers are definitely interested and considered a user because they do want to know how is that company performing financially. And lastly, we have employees. Employees are also interested in the performance of the company they work for. They want to make sure they're doing well so they can stay employed. Now, how do companies communicate? So remember we talked about how you communicate with your friends. You probably text your friends or go on Facebook and message them. So how do companies communicate? Well, they communicate through what we call financial statements, basically giving a highlight of the performance of the company financially, so in numbers. So how does financial reporting work? So these users, right, they're really interested in the financial reports of a company. So how does it work? Well, remember how you were texting earlier to your friends? That text, that communication is kind of like financial statements. So the act of texting is kind of like how a business communicates with their users. Now you're communicating through text in English, most likely. Now the same way that you communicate in English, the language that the business is using is called GAAP, Generally Accepted Accounting Principles. So they communicate in that language, and these users understand that language and they make sure the company is performing well. So if they need to invest further or not. Now let's talk about GAAP. So once again, GAAP is Generally Accepted Accounting Principles. It's a set of principles that corporations must follow in the US. A set of rules, if you will. They have to follow these rules. Now we're going to talk more about these rules in a little bit. So financial accounting, the class you're taking now, follows GAAP. So everything in this class will have to do with GAAP, Generally Accepted Accounting Principles, and there's a lot of different types of principles that this class will follow.